Ladies and gentlemen, let's just get right into it. Is the Hell Let Loose British Forces update dead on arrival? And why are we even having to ask that question in the first place? The truth is, it's complicated. Hell Let Loose's new developers are currently walking a tightrope. On the one hand, the game is already full of bugs, and they've got to be seen to be fixing those bugs. But on the other hand, they want to deliver new content to attract new players for their money, and maybe move the game forward. The British Forces update is the first real test for this new developer, a chance for them to prove to us that they can release an update that doesn't add a ton of new bugs into the system, while also addressing historic bugs, such as the grenade and loadout bugs. As a result of this, judging the success of the British Forces update is about more than just the update itself. It's also about everything else that's happening, or not happening, around it. So let's break this down by putting the historic bugs aside for a moment, we'll come back to those later, and focus on the reception of the British Forces update itself, as it is a very interesting mix of positivity and negativity. In terms of positivity, players are obviously happy to see the game receiving some love from a new developer who is saying all of the right things. Their communication has been frankly impressive, certainly regular, if not a little vague at times. But let's be honest, new content is almost always a good thing, at least in theory, and the British Forces faction was promised a long time ago. So some of us are simply thinking at f***ing last. The negativity, however, may seem petty to an outside observer, but to understand the negativity, you have to appreciate that much of it stems from how the player base has been treated in the past. Broken promises, bugs that have persisted for years, and new content for the sake of it that introduces new bugs that end up getting fixed ahead of the historic ones, if at all. Although the core gameplay has remained rewarding throughout these ups and downs, the downs have kinda sucked. I can't list each negative point on the new update because of the sheer number of minor annoyances that add up to be one big sucker punch, but for your reference, here's a brief summary of the main recurring points. First, the two new maps. El Alamein in a new theatre, North Africa, looks pretty damn cool to be fair, but the second map, Driel, is a bridge map, and anyone who's played Hell Let Loose recently will know that another bridge map, Remagen, didn't... Well, let's just say a meat-grinding bridge map didn't go down well with 99% of the player base. Newsflash, one bridge across an otherwise impassable river, in a game with one-hit kills and artillery, doesn't work. Yes, it's only one map, but each map in Hell Let Loose matters. This isn't Call of Duty where you change map every 15 minutes. A Hell Let Loose match is far longer, so we often spend one entire gaming session on just one map. At least PC gamers can choose which map they play, but without a server browser, console players don't even have that luxury. The previous developer, Black Matter, had a philosophy that each map should create a different experience. It's an awesome idea, and they made a bridge map. And although some players like it, most don't. So introducing another bridge map, given they could have chosen literally anything else, is a questionable decision at best. And why Driel of all places? My understanding is that the Brits were there for a time, but is really associated with the Polish forces. There are, however, at least other ways to cross the river in the new map. Thank God. But you know that I'm going to be set up with my machine gun, ready to mow down anyone foolish enough to wade across the water. That's if I can deploy my machine gun's bipod, but let's not even go there. And then we get to the British Forces hardware. There's no Churchill, no Crusader, no Matilda, or Valentine tanks. But we have a time-travelling Cromwell tank. And that's cool, but they weren't used in North Africa. They came later in the war. We also have a Lanchester submachine gun, which was primarily used by the Navy and for airfield protection. I appreciate that some of you will be thinking, so what? And to an extent I agree, but many players fell in love with Hell Let Loose due to its historic accuracy, or they at least tried to make it accurate. And so, these odd choices lead many of us to believe that this British Forces update, like a few falling pebbles before a rock slide, actually signals the beginning of a wholesale shift away from historic accuracy in Hell Let Loose's development. Perhaps not disappearing completely, but it may not be a part of the game's DNA going forward. Some of you may not care, but I know that many of you do. So the update itself, new factions, new maps, new vehicles, new weapons, is great, on paper at least. But as soon as you read between the lines, there are some concerning details. But what about those pesky bugs? Would you like to know more? Some background. In recent years, the state of the game has gotten worse rather than better. But fortunately, the new devs have been putting Johnny Rico to shame by absolutely smashing the bugs. I mean, look at the size of this fixed list. So, problem solved, right? Well, no. They've solved an impressive number of bugs, but the ones that really matter, namely the loadout bug and grenade bug, well, it looks like they're not getting resolved anytime soon, which unfortunately takes the shine off of any success that the British Forces update may enjoy. That might sound crazy to you, as they've sorted a zillion other bugs, but here's the thing. It's not just what those two bugs are anymore. It's what they represent. All the crap we've had to deal with in the past. All of the bad decisions, all of the broken promises, prioritizing new content over fixing the existing problems. See the connection? So those two bugs represent a matter of principle that's now embedded in the psyche of many players. And the devs have to accept that no matter how good the British Forces update may be, if I throw a grenade that doesn't actually throw and just stays in my hand, that's just not good enough. But let's flip this for a second for a more positive angle. Imagine for one moment that they genuinely sorted those two bugs. There would be celebrations in the streets, a long conga line of Hell Let Loose players, united in their lower back pain, and joy that those two bloody bugs are finally sorted. It would generate so much goodwill between the player base and the new developers. But they haven't. And that matters. So going back to the British Forces update, it could be absolutely flawless in every conceivable way, but as I said at the beginning of the video, if those key bugs haven't been addressed, and it looks like they might never be, then that affects players' perception of the British Forces update itself. Once again, prioritizing new content over what many would consider to be game-breaking bugs. So is the British Forces update dead on arrival? Opinions will always vary depending on how long you've played the game and various other factors, so the honest answer is, it depends, but patterns are already beginning to show. New content will always keep a section of the player base happy for a time. New bugs are inevitable, and it will take us time to document them all, and ultimately we need to give this update and the new developer a chance. We have a new faction. At last, a new theatre of war, weapons and tanks. It's a time to celebrate as a Hell Let Loose fan. But I can't help but think this feels like a Helm's Deep moment. A great victory for the player base and a time to chug some ale. But all the while, Gandalf looks to the ominous dark clouds to the east, knowing that this victory may be short-lived. The introduction of a new bridge map, the potential move away from this historic accuracy, and the historic bugs still being present point us to one conclusion. The core player base for Hell Let Loose, those that have played the game for a long time, those that value the historic accuracy, are being pushed ever so slightly towards the door. I'm certain this is not intentional and that the developers would love nothing more than to fix everything and bring us all with them. But long term, you do have to question whether Hell Let Loose will remain this niche World War II tactical shooter where squad communication is absolutely key, or will it evolve into something more arcadey that will appeal to the masses? Money, money, money. It's too early to tell, and perhaps the British Forces and the Winter War will be enough to keep us happy for a time. But I can't help but think we've already taken that first step towards a more arcadey experience with shorter game modes and non-verbal communication tools, either with us or soon to be with us. I fully accept that I'm part of the old guard sounding like a grumpy git who dislikes change, but I suspect I'm not the only one. The devs are saying all of the right things. We have regular communications with detailed information and roadmaps, but they've already delayed their own roadmap and increased the base price of the game, while most of the positive steps so far have been little more than warm words. The promise of an actual tutorial is a huge and positive step, and to be fair, these things take time, but most of us have heard these promises before and have been let down. So we reserve the right to be skeptical. Let us not forget how fortunate we are that a new developer is working on our beloved Hell Let Loose and appears to be pouring resources into it. But let's hope they can deliver more than just warm words of reassurance and don't turn the game into another Call of Duty anytime soon. But what do you think of the British Forces update? What are the quick and easy wins that new developers could implement for the game? Personally, I'd love for them to introduce free look, but I look forward to discussing them all with you all in the comments below. See ya.